Yeah, so I guess it's going to be more of a Halloween video. It's Halloween with siblings. Yeah, growing up in Florida in like the 90s, it was like 91 through like 96. I think 95 and 96 probably the first time I remember Halloween. I remember my mother dressed me up like a ghost, and another time I wanted to be a ninja, so I just ended up in basically a full body black suit with a modified cut up mask. My mom had a thing for DIY stuff. My sister always seemed to be a witch when I was growing up. I can't really think of any other time she was anything else. And my brother was a vampire. Going trick-or-treating in Florida was pretty cool back in the 90s because almost everybody seemed to celebrate. There were lights everywhere and houses put out bowls of candy, and, it was just generally a fun and exciting time. You got to remember the inflation and wealth inequality didn't start until later in the 90s, so 90s was almost a peak year to enjoy your life before inflation went wild and families got destroyed because of financial degradation and everything fell apart. But yeah, it's the 90s, Walkmans, cassettes, and all that jazz. One Halloween, we went to this lady's house and she had a cactus, and my mom told my sister not to touch the cactus, and because my sister is my sister, she immediately touched the cactus. Because one, my mom told her not to. Whenever you tell people not to do something, they do it. And the other thing is my sister is always pining for attention because she's a middle child and is always ignored. So, she touched that cactus and got a sliver, and we had to go to my next door neighbor, Bob's house. So that he could get the sliver out of her finger. Yeah. It was kind of a bummer, but like, outside of that, my mom put both me and my sister in our radio flyer wagon and hauled us up and down the street. There was a dude that used to hide in these bushes and scare people. He was pretty funny. And some of dude, I don't know, maybe it was just a Florida thing, but Publix used to do this Halloween thing where they'd build these giant cardboard kind of scare houses with all this creepy stuff in it, It was just more of a Halloween positive time, and outside of the weird fixation that somebody's poisoning candy, when if you ever look it up historically, it's not a thing. Nobody's ever fucking done that, ever. Anytime it's ever come up, it's always been a family member or a disgruntled father or a boomer trying to collect insurance money. Let me just lay this down. You guys want to hear something that's absolutely terrifying? The period from the 80s forward, boomers, because they started because of the Reaganomics that were all put in place, boomers started feeling the effects of the economy negatively, and their way of getting out of it was insurance fraud, because it was only in 1969 the credit system was created. So the credit system holds you to account. Boomers never had anybody to ever hold them to account, so when they were first being held to account, they did not like it. So it was everybody else's fault. That's what that is. And here's some scary shit for you. Filicide went through the roof. Missing children and parents collecting money, life insurance policies off of their kids became the standard for a boomer to get out of debt and get out of the financial degradation. They literally genocided their kids. And there are a few top cases that mildly suggest this, that are very popular. Adam Walsh and JonBenet Ramsey are two people who seemingly have made families, who have seemingly made a fortune off of their missing kids with no explanation outside of there are some inconsistencies with everything they do. And the fact that in the 80s, this style of insurance fraud was through the roof. Remember, boomers were a bunch of emotionally stunted, lead-brained sociopaths, okay? The other thing boomers did notoriously was abandon vehicles in water, so if that doesn't, so they collect insurance on it again, once again. So if that doesn't terrify you, I don't know what else does. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, it was the 90s, and, my mother at one point was giving my brother and sister and I Dimetapp because we have the Indian dark rings under our eyes and they wanted to get rid of it, and Dimetapp allegedly did that. Dimetapp was just a toxic fucking poisonous medicine that caused all types of fucking problems, but It tasted like grape, and it was horrible. So, naturally, nobody liked grape candy, in my family, because my mother was giving it to us constantly. The, problem with that is I was the kid sibling, and, as a kid, I was very anal retentive about which candies I got, so I knew what candy I had when I got home. So I went to bed knowing I had a beautiful mixed bag of candy, lots of variety of candies. And then when I woke up, they were all grape flavored. Courtesy of my sister, and I suspect my brother also, but specifically my sister. They switched out all my candy for grape, so I threw a big tantrum, and my mom made my sister give me some of her candy, and then she turned spiteful and started yelling at me, saying I was stealing her candy, and she didn't do anything, because that's what happens when you have siblings. Everybody lies about everything for some reason. Yeah. I think, in a lot of ways, I got lucky as a kid because that was we were about middle class. We were living the American dream in 1990s Florida. It's pretty usual childhood, playing football or playing tag, doing water balloon parties, squirt guns, and just having barbecues and going to the beach. And my next door neighbor down the street from us, her name was Lenny. She had a tree house, and that was the coolest thing ever. And I think anybody that has the tree house in their yard is the cool kid. Yeah. When I was a kid, one of the kids that my sister went to school with hung himself, and I actually got to see the guy hanging from the tree when the firemen came to get him down with the ladder. And I thought it was some type of puppet or something because I was a stupid kid and didn't know what I was looking at because I didn't know what suicide was. Yeah. It had a lot of, I want to say annoying decorations. They had a thing for noisy decorations. I remember I had a jack-o'-lantern that ha 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 ha, happy Halloween. Which honestly, that jack-o'-lantern was one of my favorite things ever when I was a kid. Even when it was out of season. My mom took our old baby clothes and made scarecrows out of them. And the way you do that is you just kind of get like overalls and like long sleeve shirts and then you stitch them together. And then you just stuff them full of newspaper. And one year my mom had those, and they had cowboy boots because I guess we had little cowboy boots when I was a kid. I don't ever remember wearing them, but my mom had them hanging up in the utility room, and the next door neighbor kid one day went in there and saw them hanging from the ceiling because they had coat hangers where the head's supposed to go, and freaked out and screamed and thought my mother was hanging kids in the utility room. That was pretty funny. My sister and I and my brother used to believe that the back room in my father's house was haunted. It always just gave off creepy vibes when you went in there. And things would happen, the lights would flicker, and the windows would slam, the doors would slam in the room, and shit would move around. You'd hear noises coming from back there sometimes, inexplainably, and then my sister got a my-sized Barbie doll, which ended up being like the Chucky doll of our family, because she looked absolutely terrifying, especially after my sister cut her hair. That thing was absolutely terrifying. I remember one time coming down for summer, and my brother's friend scared us with it by making it look like it was walking into the living room, and holy shit was that terrifying. We put her in the dumpster in the trash one time with like her legs sticking up, and we thought she was gone. And then the next day we went into the room and she was back, and we started screaming and ran away. We didn't realize my dad had brought her back in and put her in the room. So yeah, just stupid shit like that. When we were kids. Now, when about the 2000s or so, my mom took us to Georgia, and that was my first experience with, I guess, like direct poverty. We were living in low-income housing, and the first thing that I experienced was we couldn't eat at McDonald's anymore. Yeah. Couldn't eat out anymore. It was meatloaf every night. The second thing is you couldn't buy candy bars at the store or have any treats ever. So Halloween became important because it enabled you to stock up on your candy supply for the entire year. Oh boy. And it was in low-income housing that I learned you have to be militarily persistent on Halloween. You had to hit as many houses as you could, and every year you had to do the calculation for which neighborhood gave out the full-size bars of candy and what neighborhoods were fucking cheapskates. I quickly learned early on wearing a full covering face mask got me better rewards in Georgia because people would react to me and call me a Mexican and stuff. And they would become aggressive and they'd even tell me they didn't have any candy for me. So dressing up like a ninja became my standard. I literally went for a ninja since I was a kid, like well into like fucking, I think even high school, honestly. I went as a ninja for Halloween every year. But I was super military about it because I just hit as many houses in one night. My mom would drive us to different neighborhoods so we could hit more houses. And we go to other neighborhoods and hit more houses. Weirdest things I was ever given as a treat on Halloween. One, money. A lady gave me $1 and some change one time. Apparently, she was wearing like a prom sash and a dress and stuff, and they were supposed to be going somewhere, and her plans got canceled, and they didn't have any candy. So she gave me $1 and some change, which, cool. Second weirdest thing, a dude actually gave me a beer one year. That's not a joke. I got a beer. Don't ask me, it's Georgia. Yeah, so you know, the decorations were, I love the 1990s style decorations. A lot of the inflatable nowadays are cool, but they don't have that nostalgia. And you know, it doesn't have to have that nostalgia to be cool, but yeah, so I had friends I went trick-or-treating with. One of them was this fat kid that nearly died when we were trick-or-treating because we had hit 2 neighborhoods and he was fucking spent, and my mom was in the van driving him every 2 feet. My mother just smoked all the time, so the van was just constantly full of smoke. She would drive every 2 feet, and that kid would get out, go to the house, come back, get out, go to the house, come back. I mean, you'd watch those rich, desensitized kids that fucking had their parents driving them on golf carts around, but like, nothing beats the fucking hard worker fucking running to house, dude. I remember getting in trouble a couple times because I would just run across people's yards to the next house. I didn't give a shit. Instead of walking all the way up the driveway, then all the way back, and all the way down the sidewalk, and then up the sidewalk, no, just boom, 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 boom. It was all military. It was as much candy as you could get in one night. Dude, at one time, I literally got like 40 pounds of candy. I kid you not. I think I got one Halloween because my mother would literally just, my mother wasn't no helicopter parent. She would just drive up to the neighborhood and then park there and then tell us to get out, whoever was with us. I remember I took my idiot friend Taco with us. He was pretty crazy because that Halloween was weird. We were walking and the street lights kept flickering and going off. People's houses, like the lights inside the houses and on the porch, like that. It was just a weird Halloween. I don't know how to fully explain it. We were walking past a jack-o'-lantern that was blowing out, and I stopped to look at it because it was still warm, and then the fire in it just suddenly relit, and that was pretty cool. You know, it was pretty spooky. Scare houses, well, I did a couple of those. I wasn't a big fan. When I was in the 5th grade, I pussied out. I was terrified. I was too scared to go into a scare house. So I just pussied out and fucking sat outside being miserable, and then I got made fun of later. When we went through a scare house with my mother's alcoholic boyfriend that used to beat me and shit. And that one was pretty high tech. They had like chainsaws and shit, and I really, really didn't like that one in particular. That one really unnerved me as a kid, and I don't know why that felt so unnerving. But it was a very unnerving scare house. So there was that, you know. The spooks, you know. So, I guess there's that. Growing up with siblings and friends and shit's pretty cool, I guess. Especially you have somebody to share these adventures with. You go on. Worst Halloweens. The Halloween with my cuddle buddy. She took me to her dumbass church to do a trunk or treat. Horrible. Worst experience ever. We walked like 5 feet, we got a bag of candy, and I suddenly understood why she was so fat. Okay? You just walked 10 feet and you got like a couple bags of candy. That place was horrible, and they were explaining the world's dangerous. Mind you, this church she took me to is the exact same church that goes around poisoning and killing people, so it would make sense that they don't want to go out into the world and trick-or-treat house to house, because the last thing they want is some spiteful bastard that thinks just like them and just wants to get back at them for killing a family member. Okay, so it would make sense that you'd want to go to a trunk-or-treat if you're part of this church. Those people want to murder my kid because I murdered their kid. Why are we violent, stupid people? Well, just whatever, man. Yeah. Biggest mistake, I think the biggest waste of my life was actually engaging with that woman in any fucking standard style. But you don't know these things until you figure them out later, you know. That's just how things be. I threw Halloween parties at one point, but honestly they were fun, and I think people had fun when they came to them. At least they told me they did. But I kind of like, I don't know, a couple years things kind of went sour, but I would argue it's because I was poisoned with heavy metals. But whatever, man. That's what happens. Playing hide and seek, dressing up in costumes, and dude, I remember my cuddle buddy's boyfriend, the one Halloween we went to the trunk or treat, we were supposed to go trick or treating, and he said he knew a neighborhood. We went to the neighborhood, and then he was like, we can't trick or treat here, we have to go home, and then he just decided that we weren't going to do anything, and he just ruined it for everybody. I didn't understand why he was being so defensive and so fucking aggressive about this, and I get it now, because his church goes around poisoning and killing people, so the last thing you want is, to go trick-or-treating and go to random people's houses because somebody might recognize your kid and go, hold up, wait a minute, I got something special for your ass. Which is why you don't go around doing that to people, but this church is too stupid to learn that lesson. Not everybody's a malicious piece of shit like you people. But yeah, so... I do have some scary stories that are not, like, directly Halloween related. I don't think I ever had anything on Halloween actually spooky, or ghostly happen. I got stalked by some guy in a mask one time. He just kept following me around from, like, the shadows. To this day, I still have no idea what was up with that, but I attract weirdos. I had some kid that claimed he knew me, but he wouldn't take his mask off, so I don't know who that guy was, but he followed me around one year. I was dressed up like Scorpion, and that kid just followed me around this entire neighborhood, and then when I went to another neighborhood, that kid turned up and started following me again, and I was just like, I guess that was his thing. I didn't give a shit. Like, whatever, man. Yeah. I think that covers the Bobby Halloween's experiences for now.